So how might you test memory in a bird? Like, for humans, we could read off a list of words, wait a delay, and then ask the human to repeat the words back to you. See how many words they can remember, or how long of a delay they can remember for. And with birds, that verbal pattern, it might work for like a parrot that can mimic human sounds, but not for other species. And what if we want to test spatial memory instead of verbal memory? Like, how do you do that in a controlled way? Well, let's start this video with just a clip of one way you could do that. So here you see them putting a cowbird into a little testing chamber they've set up that has a touch screen on it, or in this case, a PEC screen. So the bird has already gone through a bunch of training, so it knows what to do here. What happens is basically when these things show up, the green circle there, if they peck the green circle, it begins a trial. So the bird knows when it pecks the green circle, all this other stuff is going to happen that will allow it to earn a treat. So when he presses it, you'll see here once it gets started, he's going to press the green circle and a square shows up. So he has to peck the square just in order to continue the trial. That ensures the researchers that he noticed the square and where it was. Then they're testing if he can remember where the square was. So after he pecks the square, it disappears. Its spatial location has to be stored in memory. And at that point, a blue circle comes on, which he then has to peck in order to start his memory test. If he doesn't peck the blue circle in time, it just starts the whole process over. But when he pecks the blue circle, then two squares show up, one where the original square was and one in a different location. If he's able to remember and peck the original location, he gets a treat. But if he pecks the wrong location, you'll see towards the end of this video, he doesn't get a treat, and in fact, the lights go out for a few seconds. And the reason for the lights going out, it not only helps distinguish correct trials from incorrect trials, but it's also a form of timeout, because when the lights are out, he can't be working on the task and earning treats, so it functions as negative punishment. Anyway, he'll go through, you'll see more examples of this. As I said, he'll fail kind of towards the end of it, he'll have a trial that he messes up, but this is an application where we can use differential reinforcement to train up a task that lets us study something in a controlled way in a laboratory in order to answer questions that it's otherwise really hard to answer, in this case, about something cognitive like memory. So you can see here he presses, he starts a new trial, touches a square where it was, hits the blue one to say I'm ready for the test. And again, they can manipulate the delay here, so that's an independent variable. The computer can control how long the delay is. Obviously working on pretty quick delays for the bird here. He messed that trial up though, so that's why the lights went out for him. He got it a so either a memory error or he didn't report it right. But yeah, that's the basic idea. So, okay. So in this video, the video that we're doing right now, so as this bird one finishes up, in this video that we're going to do here, we're going to play a little game about learning. So it's going to start out a little confusing. This game I'm going to do is kind of like if you were the bird thrown into this, lab situation and you didn't know the rules yet. You had to figure out the rules. So things are going to start out confusing here. I'm not going to tell you the rules of our little learning game. Just like animals, you'll have to learn things about the world without someone verbally explaining it. Babies have to learn things about the world without someone verbally explaining the rules to them. So just try your best in this game and see if you can learn something just based on sort of differential reinforcement, on being told you're right or wrong each time. So you'll be using feedback to see if you can learn something new. So here you go. You're gonna participate in a concept learning task. In a moment, I'm going to show you some slides that each contain 3 Greek letters forming a trigram, just meaning a set of 3 letters together. So some of these trigrams of Greek letters, some are true, while others are false. Your task is to learn which ones are true and which ones are false by learning what characteristic of those trigrams determines their truth or falseness. That's the concept that you're supposed to learn here. So I will present the trigrams in blocks of 12 trials, showing them to you one trigram at a time. Each trigram is going to be followed by an answer slide indicating whether the previous one was true or false. So if you want to play along, you might actually set up an answer sheet like you see here on the left, going all the way down to 48 trials. You just need a few columns, so you could do this on a single sheet of paper if you put them 24 next to 24 or something like that. Because we're going to do 4 sets of 12. So leave a place to put your guess, like whether you think it's true or false. You'll put a little T or an F there in the box. And then afterwards, when I give the answer, when I show on the screen whether it's true or false, you'll make a check mark if you were correct, if you got it right. Otherwise, you can just leave it blank. The point here is you're just going to make a guess every time, and you'll get some feedback on whether it was actually true or false, whether you got it correct or not. It's going to be frustrating at first because you don't know the rule, you don't know the concept, so you'll basically just be guessing. That's okay, but try and use the feedback. See if eventually by the end of this it clicks. So pause the video now and create an answer sheet on a blank sheet of paper if you want to play along. Okay, so the task will proceed like this. A Greek letter trigram is going to appear on the screen very briefly for about 5 seconds. As soon as you see it, you have to decide whether it's true or false. You might just guess, but just decide whether it's true or false and mark either a letter T or a letter F in that box on your answer sheet, okay? Note that this whole task is going to move very rapidly, so the next slide moments later is going to tell you if you're correct, and then you have to quickly put a check mark there. All those slides, whether it's the trigrams or the true-false answer afterward, they're going to appear for just 5 seconds each. So you have to work fast. Don't panic about each individual trial. Just get back on track if you lose it. That's fine. Just keep trying, and see if it eventually clicks. All right. Are you ready to start? Here we go. So just guess. True or false, and then mark down if you're correct or not. Keep just guessing and see if you're right. Okay, we'll pause here for a minute. That was 12. That was our first 12 trials. Have you figured out the concept yet? If so, you could pause the video for a second and write down what you think the concept is, and then we're going to keep going. You can see if you're right. We're going to keep going, do 3 more blocks of this. Don't worry if you don't have the concept yet. Most people don't. Just keep trying. So here we go. We're going to do another set of 12. We'll do the same process as before. Are you ready? Here we go. All right, that was our second block. We're halfway done. Have you figured out the concept yet? If so, pause the video and write down what you think it is. Then we're going to keep going, and we're going to do 2 more blocks of this. So you still have lots of chance to try and catch on. It's pretty tough. Here we go. Are we ready for the third block? And go. All right, that was our third block. We've done 3 sets of 12 trials. Normally, some humans start catching on at this point. Other people don't quite get it yet. We'll do one more block to see if you can catch on. Pigeons might have to go through a lot of blocks of this. So what we might do is set a criterion and say, I'm going to keep showing them blocks like this over and over and over again until they get it right, until their guesses are correct. On, say, 24 trials in a row, so 2 blocks of 12 in a row without a mistake, that's when I know that they've figured it out. That might be when I know that they've got the concept, right? So the same idea could apply here. If you got the concept early on, you might have been getting correct, whereas other people, sometimes it takes quite a bit longer to catch on. Don't worry, it's pretty normal if you haven't got it yet, but we're going to do one more block and see if you can catch on. So here's block 4. You ready, set, go. All right, that's it. Do you think you know the concept? Let's test you out. But first, this number at the top of the screen. I can pretty much guarantee you've never seen it before. I just made this number up. Is it odd or is it even? Thing is, you can answer that despite never seeing this specific number before because you've learned a rule, a concept for what makes a number odd or even. That generalizes to new stimuli. So some people doing this demo of Greek trigrams, they learn a concept along the way. Let's see if you happened to get it. Don't worry, not everyone does. So here we go. Here's a novel trigram at the top. You haven't seen this before. It wasn't during any of the trials. They never saw this combo before. What do you think? Is it true? Is it false? Can you not tell? Make your guess, and then I'll give you the answer. So here's a hint. This letter on the left, anytime it was in the slides previously, the trigram was true. This letter signals true. Some people catch on to that. That's a concept they learn. However, the letter on the far right here, the letter on the right, anytime it was in the slides previously, the trigram was false. This letter signals false. Some people catch on to that, but not the leftmost letter, not the other rule. So if you learned either of those rules on their own, you might, when you see this, confidently declare that this new trigram is true or that it's false or whatever. But in this case, it's actually ambiguous because we never had a situation with both of them on there before. The only way to know that this is an ambiguous, can't tell type of situation is if you picked up on both concepts along the way, which, by the way, very few people do. But when you reflect on how annoyingly hard this task might have been for you, where you didn't get any verbal explanation of what the concept itself was, consider that this is what your pet dog has to do to learn the concepts you try to teach it, that this is what the rats in a Skinner box have to do to piece together how the freaking lever works. This is what a baby has to do to start understanding the world around it. We learn by observing the different outcomes of different behaviors and using that feedback to better predict how the world works and what behaviors will be reinforced or not. That's concept learning. And we'll actually dive into that idea further in the next video, which will be the last one for the current topic.